Welcome to Tone.
What up, y'all? This is Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. I want to have a discussion today about this BNC Black News Channel not paying the employees, shutting down almost like overnight, and who has to take some responsibility for this. As you know, myself, Yvette Carnell, we've continuously told you there's a severe lack of wealth within the Black community. What we're seeing, to me, in large part, is a total lack of understanding of Blackness in America. As a result, people just do anything to continually represent an idea of a post-reparation Black America, an idea of a Black America that has reached equity without doing the politics or the work. Let's talk about it today. So I'm gonna let everybody fall in. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna do a Saturday show today. 310-388-3499. 310-388-3499 to call in, subscribe, press the bell. But let's get right into this channel. This channel shutting down. As you know, this was launched back in 2020. It was Marc Lamont Hill. It was Charles Blow. And they were the faces that sold this to Black folk. Now we have a situation where the obvious happened. We got to go back to the start and understand, and we're going to go through some of this stuff. We have J.C. Watt, a former Republican congressman, and we have Shad Khan, who is a major Trump donor behind this channel. And yet, Marc Lamont Hill and Charles Blow put their face on it. So when we come to this moment, it isn't a shocker. When we come to this moment, we have to understand J.C. Watt in context of somebody who was against affirmative action, so therefore would be against reparations likely, who also stands in the ethos of hard work, showing he doesn't understand wealth inequality, nor what white folks got from not working hard, but from programs and policy that came from government just over the last 12 years. Obama, Trump, and Biden might have gave white folks $60 trillion in wealth, taking them from around 65 trillion to now 127 trillion. I wish J.C. Watt would tell them to give all that money back, but he wouldn't. And so now we're here having this discussion about this failed channel, and nobody wants to own it. Black News Channel should shut down. The channel backed by Jacksonville Jaguars owner Shahid Khan launched in 2020. Again, a major Trump donor. He launches this in 2020. I saw Marc Lamont Hill put out a tweet. I don't think it's enough. He's taking the position almost like he's a third party. Bro, you were the brand. They sold this to Black America through Yo Image and through Charles Blow. The Black News Channel primetime show features CNN and New York Times Black contributors. So now you owe us more than that. Now, I will say that Marc Lamont Hill did bring Yvette on the show. I appreciate him doing that. But he also brought a lot of other people. I think Coleman Hughes, who says the wildest things about reparations, along with several other people. He just bringing anything and everything on. And in many ways, it felt like what Mark was doing, as he did with Patrice Cullors to me, is doing like softball interviews. And y'all can have your feelings on that. But his statement on this thing was the real exclusive is that he's refusing to give people their paychecks today. Hundreds of employees, many of whom already took significant pay cuts, are now being denied money they've already worked for. But, bro, you were the face of this thing. Now, I'm not saying you run the business and owe those people money, but you owe everyone an apology and an explanation why you would think that a Republican donor, along with a Republican congressman, would do anything other than this. I'm just saying what I see. Call it spade. You have people all across the YouTube space that don't understand politics, talking about this is a Democratic channel and this, that, or talking about coming out with new networks. None of that makes any sense. You don't know what you're talking about. What we talking about here is a total lack of wealth by Black folks and not being a target market. As a result, you can go try to start your network rolling. Other people can try to understand politics. They probably need to go back, learn some more politics before they talk about politics. This was more about a way to use Black folks to create an image of access and success and project messaging that didn't represent what Black folks was talking about. Can we talk about it? So we here today, 310-388-3499. Again, this was supposed to be a YouTube channel. Supposed to be a TV channel. Somehow it started being on YouTube, and Mark was interviewing people on YouTube. Okay. I feel like in many ways that showed that they just didn't have access. Let's talk about some of the context to give you guys scale of what you actually were seeing. BNC, a television network, this is an article from December 2021. Black news channel viewership low, cutbacks are imminent. Low is an understatement. Low is 400,000, 500,000 views a show. But this is low. This is not low. This is just a failed, entire bad idea. BNC, a television news network designed to appeal to 13% of the American population, has as few as 3,000 viewers nationwide for their primetime schedule, and cuts are taking place. To give you some context of primetime viewership, you have the five, you have Tucker Carlson, 3 million views. You have, even when you come down and look at Rachel Maddow, she's at 2 million views. These people are getting 3,000 views. That's not failure. That's not even collapse. That's just shoddy all around idea of what Black folks need and deserve. And whether we've created a group that anchors itself in news, whether we've created a group that has enough wealth to understand the context of politics and community, or whether we failed altogether and we need to rebuild this thing. I'm just talking to you today. 3,000 views. 3,000 views is basically, come on. That's a small scale YouTube show. When I say small scale, somebody don't even have a fan base. 310-388-3499. And part of it is they didn't understand. Those people didn't even have brands to bring you viewership. I don't want to work for them people, no way, but I know for a fact that I wouldn't have had no 3,000 views. I don't have 3,000 views with no ads on this show. Come on, bro. Black news channel blindsides Tallahassee employees with news of closure. Tallahassee-based Black news channel, which launched roughly 2 years ago, announced via email to its employees on Friday it would abruptly cease operations. The announcement was made in an internal memo WCTV obtained from an employee who wished to remain anonymous. The email was sent at 2:55 p.m. Friday. So they wait till Friday evening when people expect their checks to go pay their bills and just don't pay them. This is awful. This is god awful. And so somebody has to answer for this and step up and honestly assess why they believe that this was a reasonable request. So essentially, they just cut these people paychecks, and I think that it should have been done in a more professional way. It was not done that way. 310-388-3499. This is going to be a brief show, but we coming with it. Let's talk about this memo that was sent out, because I have a copy of it. A little more than 2 years ago, the lights on BNC's cameras flipped on for the first time. Despite the challenges of the global pandemic, we launched a groundbreaking mission to inject positive change into a news landscape that for too long had undeserved and overlooked Black and brown people. So now it's and brown people. Call yourself BBBNC. They just talking all around the nonsense. And in reality, what they're doing is they're really confused about their market. And like, you didn't have the cachet, and I don't know who you are, to promise that you could deliver a viewership. And in addition, you didn't know politics to help us get reparations. So this viewership can actually entice advertisers. Everybody talks about spending power, They don't understand. Asians have half the workers and nearly the same spending power. We buying soap and body wash and toiletries. White folks have almost 9 times the spending power, and that doesn't even count their assets, as Black folks. And they don't have nearly that many more people. The reality is spending power don't tell you nothing. What tells you everything is the scale of wealth. White folks have $127 trillion. Black folks have around 7. 3 of that is pension, which tells you it's in old people's retirements and it ain't spending. Another 2.5 of it is real estate. So we have literally no liquid wealth. But then you're gonna start a news channel. But then you're gonna flip the news channel to be Black and brown in your statement, because you can't really get to where you got to get to on Black dollars. During the past few months, we have endured very painful workforce reductions at all levels of the network as we work to achieve our financial goal of break-even business. This has forced all of you to do more work with less. This is to employees and contributions have been remarkable. Unfortunately, due to challenging market conditions and global financial pressures, we have been unable to meet our financial goals, and the timeline afforded to us has run out. It's with a broken heart I'm letting you know that effective immediately, BNC will cease live production and file for bankruptcy. This is inappropriate. These people deserve their paychecks. They're not trying to hear this nonsense. You would have fired them if they were late. You need to pay these people appropriately. And this email is this email is almost saying like they're going to give them a bonus to leave and also pay them the money that they owe them. No, bro. You failed these employees. And you failed Black America because you said that you could deliver a news channel, but you didn't do no politics. You brought Coleman Hughes on your channel through Marc Lamont Hill, and he basically anti-reparations, in my view. Do you not understand the gravity of taking grifters and elevating them, Black America? This is the consequence, that you look like you've achieved, so you can't do no politics, meaning if they're on YouTube, and if we say anything, we look like haters. But you over here believing 2 Republicans are going to go deliver you to the promised land, Khan and J.C. Watts. Letting Marc Lamont Hill smear himself on top to make you watch it. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? So when they launch this thing, and support the channels, we out here talking about it. Everybody there? So when they launched this thing, they was talking all kind of stuff about how it's going to change the world and all that. First 24-hour news channel by and for African Americans set to launch during Black History Month, February 10, 2020. The Black News Channel, the first 24-hour news channel, aimed specifically at an African American audience, set to launch on February 10th to coincide with Black History Month. Founded by former Rep. J.C. Watts, a Republican from Oklahoma, the network will premiere in 33 million households, primarily in large African American markets such as New York City, LA, and Atlanta. Based in Tallahassee, Florida, BNC says it will produce television programming and digital content written and produced by Black people for Black people. So now it's by Black people for Black people, but before it was brown people in the letter that the CEO sends where bankruptcy is announced. None of it makes sense. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Yeah, let me read this to you and come right to you. PNC programming will feature all Black on-air talent like former libertarian Larry Elder, and will pull from historically Black colleges and universities with much of his on-air expertise. According to Watts, the network will not be entirely Black run or owned, though CEO Bob Brilliant and COO Jim Zerks are both white. I guess they went out and got them a Black CEO when it started failing. Caller, give me your take.
Okay. So, yeah, I just appreciate what you do when it comes to doing your homework, getting the facts, and just giving us the truth. Like, you're the best out there. And it's a shame that folks are so afraid of what you represent that they won't give you the platform that you deserve and that you need to really get the ADOS message out. So I first wanted to get that out the way. And I think one of the things that you do a great job of is attacking that neoliberalism and how structures and stuff are built and how they slap certain Black faces on it to make it seem really progressive or that it's really for us when it's really not. I think when it comes to our politics, you can get out of it if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican and just what's best for Black people. And so I hear a lot of people saying, well, don't be a Republican, don't be a Republican. And I'm not a Republican, but I'm like, President Douglas was a Republican.
But there's a problem with that. First of all, I don't even want to get into the history of the party slipping. The fundamental problem you have is you have a wealthless group. So until you put money in people, let me finish. Explain something to you. Until you put money in Black people's pockets at the local level, particularly, Republicans will see Black people not have pipes. So where you're at now is you're basically kind of trapped politically because you're voting against your own starvation. So why we say reparations is so important is to allow you to have more of a dynamic politics. Now, right now in America, I feel like we have too few parties. But the reality of local level and state level politics is many of you guys in the red states, I hope y'all get y'all unemployment. I hope you do. And I saw what happened in Florida. I hope that the energy problem in Texas don't bite your ass. What's happening right now is that we say things about being conservative because that's what it is, but we don't have nothing to conserve. So I'm saying that I understand your point, but I just feel right now we need, because if in go ahead. Well, no, but I'm just saying that you're not gonna get reparations from a Republican as it is.
Right. No, that's not my point. I'm
Okay.
saying it's just with the mentality that some of those principles and stuff aren't bad, but really to your point, it really don't matter. It really don't matter until we get what's owed to us.
Yes. Yeah, but then there's one party that will ignore you talking about it at all. And I'm not saying that the Democrats aren't doing some form of that, but I'm saying right now the problem right now is black folks are so poor. I'm talking about at the and many people aren't really honest about their family is using them as government because they need such government that we can't even get to dynamic politics. And I understand in theory where you're going, but in practice, the problem is that in Loudoun County right now, you ask yourself whether Cherry Sewell or her opponent is more likely to get pikes so those people don't have feces in their backyard, those black folks. I would argue Cherry Sewell. But I think that where we gotta go is we gotta get reparations so black folks can do dynamic politics. I think we need a third party, not necessarily the Republican Party. Go ahead.
You got there the quick way. I was going the long way because jumped it right out the ballpark. That's what I was getting to. You know, until you have the wealth that owes you, you have no options. You kind of got to take what people give you to a certain extent. So that's why we love voices like yours, that Carnell, to mobilize and inspire people. Because you're right, it's got to be at a grassroots level, at the local level, and black people got to stop being. I mean, we can't keep having people like Joy Reed and Lamont Hill speak for us.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I agree. Well, and part of it is we gotta get a voice, and that voice can't be anything on TV is good. You have an owner who donated $1 million to Trump, but I mean, black folks were supporting Charlamagne, T.I., and Nipsey with the opportunity zones. That's the Trump tax cuts. I don't care what spin and what hood spin you put on it. It was support of Trump tax cuts. You have black folks on YouTube talking about, well, we got to see what Trump say. Yeah, you already know what he said. He said, I'll see you starve. So what are we talking about? You have people who, me and Yvette have political science bachelor's degrees from top institutions. She went to Howard, if you like black colleges. I went to one of the premier institutions in the world in UCLA. What I'm telling you is that once you see this man, you can't be on that channel. So this man here, Shad Khan, and also J.C. Watts, as Congressman Watts was assigned to the Armed Services Committee and the Financial Services Committee, Watts emphasized moral absolutes and was considered in line with Republican Speaker Newt Gingrich's agenda, the contract with America, and at the time was the only African American who did not join the CBC. He initially supported ending affirmative action, declaring inadequate education the main obstacle. Hard work. That's all he thought. He don't even understand wealth inequality. So you as Marc Lamont Hill went on this channel and validated it that was set up by J.C. Watt and a Republican billionaire. Make it make sense. And that's where we at. And so now it failed. Go ahead.
No, it's spot on, and I think that's the thing. Like, the people with the biggest platforms should be speaking for us, they not. You know what I'm saying? And we need to keep building and supporting stations like yours, Yvette Carnell, so that we have people who are actually speaking for us and what's best for black people.
True, man. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I'm getting to the point. I haven't voted in a national election since 2016, and I'm just sitting here looking at them like nobody is for us. Like nobody is for us. We're just on. And I'm not participating in this no more because if my vote was paid for in blood, then surely it's too valuable just to give away. I did it on the state and local level, but this national crowd felt like nobody.
Well, that was the dynamic value of going down ballot Democrat, not necessarily to oppose the Democratic candidate versus the Republican, but to pressure a secured commitment for our vote. But what happened was we got smeared, and everybody else was quiet. These people didn't say shit to me, not a damn word. Marc Lamont Hill, what's this other dude name? I keep Charles Blow. He didn't say nothing to me. He didn't. They didn't even say nothing when the Harvard retraction came out. Nothing. Zero. They got the black.
Why not bring you on? Why
No,
not
but forget for a second bringing me on. When the Harvard retraction came out, the Black News Channel still out. You got your Twitters. Y'all didn't say nothing. So, like, at the end of the day, and I'm not talking about a retraction necessarily that says may or may not. It said this was all wrong. So now, where your coverage? So I can't do nothing if this is a Black News Channel and they don't cover no Black news. Caller, let me let you go. I got a couple more callers. Thank you so much for calling. You came in and started it off right. Let me take another call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm Marvin. I'm from Ohio.
What's up, Marvin?
My thing is with Black people and with this show is that and when I know people right now in this town where I live at, who work for a company, they call apart for time. And they worship this dude. But if you donate $1 million to Trump and Lamont Hill goes on there, we're just seeing that he thought was going to make some money and that we're going to fall for this. Black people, in my opinion, we need the New Deal. Because I live in the Midwest, and that's what I see. When I look at all the houses in the neighborhood where I'm at now, were all bought by white people in the New Deal. You got places right now in Ohio where they're building an Intel plant. Black people can't even get in the housing market now because white people are paying cash to lure in housing because they're gentrifying the neighborhood. A black person trying to finance a $150,000 home, which is cheap in California. A white person comes in with $150,000 cash. It's the white people who have the railroad retirement. It's white people who have Carnegie pensions, GM pensions. Black people, the old black people have that, but the younger black people don't. FHA loan. I talk to white people who I work with. They walk up to you and say, well, my grandma built that house with it. Off the GI, my grandfather, when they got it off a GI Bill loan in the 40s, they paid $9,000 for this house. Now it's worth $300,000-$400,000.
Hey, caller, let me focus you in some. Let me read some of this article. What happened at the Black News Channel? How toxic content, lawsuits, and low ratings led to a promising network's collapse. When the Black News Channel launched in February 2020, it was touted as a necessary and refreshing approach to cable news by Black people for Black people. The network's launch was welcomed, coming at a period when a series of Black media outlets were folding or stopped publishing, while the industry as a whole continued to struggle. Legacy brands such as Ebony have faced financial struggles, while digital outlets like The Root have also seen drastic staffing and content woes. On television, Black journalists, analysts, and commentators have had few opportunities. Between the three major cable networks, Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, CNN's Don Lemon is the only Black host, and we now have Joy Reid. Despite increased coverage and recognition of racial issues in the media over recent years, there remain limited opportunities for Black people and insufficient representation of marginalized communities. This again is from March 2022. Let me finish this. Considering these issues, BNC had the potential to fill a crater in the media industry in the 2 years it was on the air. However, it fell short. Not only is the network being sued by journalists who worked to bring it to life, but it struggled the ratings as the on-air product became just as much of a vehicle for toxic commentary as any other cable channel, if not arguably more, because they just brought anybody on. Like that, like what Mark was doing was he was just bringing anybody on and then creating firestorms, and that's how you were going to get ratings, and that's not a productive way. Let me read a little more. Within the hours, the Los Angeles Times reports that the network was filing for bankruptcy and shutting down its 230 staffers no longer have a job. To understand how BNC came to fall, it's worth exploring the unusual story behind the company's founding. BNC was started by J.C. Watts, a Republican Black politician of Oklahoma. Watts co-founded the network with Bob Berlevche, a veteran TV exec who is white, and the majority share is owned by Shahid Khan, a Pakistani entrepreneur who also owns All Elite Wrestling. So they started this with a wrestling billionaire, and he also owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. In June 2020, Berlevche stepped down. He ran off. And Princell Hare, that's the man that wrote the letter to all the employees, Black man, a former top executive at CNN, took over as chief executive. Khan continued to fund the network as Hare attracted good press. In Tallahassee, Democrat profile of Hare In September 21, BNC was described as thriving under his leadership. Watch told the paper, I'm more bullish on BNC today than I have ever been. Okay. American households and growth in staff, particularly during the pandemic, as evidence of its success. Other outlets will follow suit in their analysis. In the last year, though, the network's content offerings and corporate decisions began proving directly anti-ethical to their goal to celebrate Black lives, culture, and history, and give voice to an underserved community. In an article published in the Times in November, BNC was described as aiming to give voice to an underserved audience and praised for its expanding workforce and programming. The most important currency to the Black audience is authenticity. By December, though, the network had laid off an undisclosed amount of employees right before Christmas in January. 13 current and former women employees sued the network, alleging gender discrimination and pay inequity. The class action stemmed from a lawsuit first filed by 2 women against the network in August. Women at Black news channel are routinely paid less than men in equivalent positions and forced to conform to sexist or misogynistic stereotypes about how women are supposed to behave, the plaintiff said. The NABJ said in a statement they were disgusted by the allegations laid out in the lawsuit. BNC had expanded its availability in recent months, claiming to reach around 50 million households and 250 million OTT platforms and online devices. The network also launched a streaming service, yet BNC was tied with Comedy.tv for second to last place in ratings among all cable networks tracked by Nielsen, averaging just 4,000 viewers. For comparison, BET averaged 365,000 viewers. Despite its roster of mostly liberal hosts, the network drew attention for giving airtime to controversial conservatives. So you have people on YouTube that don't even understand. This network was giving Coleman Hughes a chance. It's not about this network being for Democrats. You don't understand. This network was really set up by 2 Republicans and trying to, I believe, angle in Black folks in a direction that we're not at politically. If you don't understand that, maybe you shouldn't talk about this. Go ahead, caller.
My thing is that it's like I said, like you said, our views and the Black people, a lot of us who consume media, you get more views than they do.
Yep.
They would be more advantageous to talk about reparations and racial income inequality than what they were talking about.
Well, they can't though. But J.C. Watt don't understand. He don't understand racial wealth and equality, and he don't understand Blackness as a result. So he can't. He believes in hard work ethos. He don't understand that white America got given $60 trillion by government. He has no grasp. So you guys are listening to people that are high school dropouts or Republican congressmen and just saying, well, Tone, can you debate them? I'm not debating them. You got people on YouTube that are literally saying what's not in this article. That this was a sham because it was a Democratic shield kind of thing. No, that was giving conservatives like voice that aren't really a representation of the Black community. You don't understand what's going on. You just talking. You guys just listen to people that just be talking.
But how many of us really take J.C. Watt seriously? I don't. I never took him seriously. But he doesn't support my views. 2, when I hear them talk about that striverism, I hear that every day in the barbershop with Black people. I want to pick myself up from the bootstraps. I'm going to get an LLC, and you do this or that. We hear that. But that doesn't pan results. Because one thing we will say, just look at your own family, you see it.
Yeah, you government. Caller, let me get to this last section. Thank you so much for calling. This is the last thing. I just want to tie it to Bob Johnson and BET because I don't think a lot of people understand what BET was. It wasn't a Black-owned, Black-led, it wasn't all of those things that you said. The market nobody wanted, O2 article, we covered this before. Basically, John Malone was the money behind it, not Bob Johnson. Bob Johnson had like $15,000 jumped into this. It was all a white man, but John Malone, who owns Discovery damn near. And so, like, you guys were sold a bag of goods, and then it was basically a market nobody wanted back then. And that's when boomers were in their government jobs and their pensions, and they were 50 years old, and like we're gig workers now, debt-laden college grads, high school dropouts that have huge amounts of bankruptcy and child support owed. So, like, why would you think that we're in a better position for them to want us now? What we are is exploitation. And so as a result, if you don't change that, you don't have no network. You just are the work that they netting. The market nobody wanted by his own admission, Robert Johnson got into the cable business through total serendipity, but certainly What he achieved since founding Black Entertainment Television in the 1980s has been based on anything but dumb luck, armed with just a $15,000 bank loan and $500,000 from John Malone. And understand, John Malone, $500,000 might as well be $10 million or $50 million, because once he gives you the money, it's going to grow because he wanted to grow. But you got to understand, John Malone, you can't find no picture with him with Bob Johnson. But he one of the big supporters of Trump. Bob Johnson supports Trump. He's a Republican. And is this the end of CNN's left-wing bias? Billionaire Trump owner, who is the largest shareholder of the network's new owner Discovery, wants to restore it. John Malone is chairman of Liberty Media, and he's saying he sees Liberty, Discovery's largest shareholder. He previously donated $250,000 to Trump's inauguration. So BET was by a Trump supporter. This Black News Channel is by a Trump supporter. So what you see is it's a lot more going on than people understand that don't understand politics. This is the same article just to share with you, to give you context on the BET you believed in and how this serves no framework for anything positive for Black folks going forward. Not first and foremost because Black folks had some medium level of ascension in the late 70s, 80s, coming into the 90s, with boomers being a lot younger. We don't have no wealth. Millennial working age Blacks, they ain't trying to target us. You can believe what you want. They ain't trying to sell you nothing. Nothing but payday loans and predatory things. But you also have this reality that people don't understand the narrative of this BET, so then they don't understand the Black News Channel. This is the narrative. I'm not making it up. You can see it for yourself. Same article, The Market That Nobody Wanted by CNN. During the cab ride to the Hill, I said, what are you going to talk about, Senator Pepper? This is Bob Johnson talking to a senator. Well, I've got this idea for a channel for elderly. And here's some of the facts about it. And I looked at him and he said, reading from his business plan, that's the elderly population in the U.S. is X number. The elderly population in America has X amount of spending power. All talking about elderly. Sound like Fox News. Then he came to me. This is Bob Johnson. Gee, I could do the same for the Black population. Yes, you could, I said. Can I use the business plan for something I'm thinking about? He said, sure. So he got the business plan from a senator. Then he took it to John Malone. So I changed the word elderly to Black. That's genius. That's the genius. That was the beginning of the spring of that year. I took out a $15,000 loan from a bank and set out to form a business. My big break came. This is the whole business. This is all of BET right here. When a cable magnate, John Malone, the CEO of Telecommunications Inc., the country's third largest cable company, decided to invest in my company. So the man who invested in BET was a man who was a Trump supporter on basically right wing. Just telling you. All right. So now you understand that. You can start understanding how BNC is a photocopy of that. This was the beginning. In the spring, I took out a $15,000 loan from a bank and set out to form my business. Big break came. John Malone, the country's third largest cable company. John Malone was a member of the board of NCCA, where I was a lobbyist. So John and I started talking and developed a friendship. Read this just to share this. One thing I learned is that it's most important to seek out strong partners. Most minority companies grew up with 100% Black ownership, particularly those that just targeted Black communities. BET, from its inception, always had money from white investors. In this case, Malone, a Trump-supporting right investor. Later, HBO and Taft Broadcasting. I believe that it was in BET's best interest to have strategic partnerships like that in a world where most of your business clients were white. This is the problem. Once the money comes from John Malone, you no longer have the independence to say what Tone Talk says, or what Breaking Brown says, or what Adolf says. That's why we were able to do what we did, but we took all the daggers. So we take the daggers, and Marc Lamont Hill take the pictures. Make it make sense. He owe y'all an apology. He owe all them employees an apology. He owes Black America an explanation why he would let two Republicans use his face to sell this channel. That's just my view. You can view it different. I'm not saying he owed them money. He don't. But I'm saying that there's people who basically signed up and watched this on his face. Not knowing, because they don't know, not knowing the backdrop, you know. It's like the people on YouTube running around talking about Democratic shields and stuff. You don't know nothing. To me, the reason John Malone is important to the story of BET is that John put not only his money into BET, but also his prestige. So $500,000 plus his prestige, and all you were was $15,000. No, bro, you were the face man to give us a channel of music videos for the next 20 years. And as a result, we were stuck with Jay-Z, a high school dropout that sold drugs, as the image of Black success. You were the vehicle for the introduction of that. And BNC was the vehicle for the introduction of a right-wing version of Black America that doesn't exist. Can we talk about it? Can I make it make sense how all of this tied together? You didn't even know what was going on. They tried it. I'm going to take one more caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Juanita.
Hey, Juanita, what's your thoughts on this? Give me your take on this. They sold this as one thing, but it looked like something else.
Yeah, I know. I really came in late on the call, and but I just want to ask a question. What are we going to do? I mean, we have these calls. It's called all over the YouTube about how much we lose. I mean, how much we're losing and how lost our people are. But what is going to be the answer?
We already gave you, but you asking me, or you rhetorically asking? Because I have the answer. I feel like me and Yvette Carnell gave y'all the answer. And what happened was my show and Yvette's show, in large part, and I'm not in total, led to AB 3121 in California.
This is Antonio Moore. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the ADOS movement and American descendants of slavery across California. The history of racism in California connects to a larger federal level discrimination from slavery to redlining. The resulting cost has created immense wealth inequality that AB 3121 will allow us to study for impact. Even though California entered the Union as a free state, we must be clear. The framers of the state constitution wrote into law the systemic denial of suffrage of other civil rights to blacks. Some even denied entry of all African Americans to California. California even had a fugitive slave law, as mentioned earlier, that stated any person brought to California pre-statehood as a slave would be considered a slave in the eyes of the law, even though the California Constitution banned slavery and the state entered the Union as a free state, affecting thousands of blacks brought to the state of California during the gold rush. We see the results across our economics. African Americans with this lineage have been, in effect, rendered wealthless. Due to the cause inequality, according to CalMatters.org, in the article, The Hidden Toll of California's Black Exodus, the black population has plunged 45% in Compton, 43% in San Francisco, and 40% in Oakland. In addition, a recent report called Color of Wealth, done of Los Angeles by UCLA, Duke, and the Federal Reserve, further reflects this showing. The middle white family in Los Angeles is worth $355,000 hard assets. The Middle East Asian Indian family is worth $460,000 hard assets. The middle Chinese family worth $405,000. Even the middle African black family is worth $160,000 hard and $60,000 liquid. The middle native ADOS black family in the city of Los Angeles is worth a mere $200 liquid and a few $1,000s hard. California is leading the way, designating that we review reparations to American descendants of slavery through AB 3121, and I respectfully ask you vote aye on AB 3121.
Thank you, sir.
That was the answer. And let me finish that sentence. And what you guys allowed to happen is for people that don't know how to represent your interests to circumvent the controversy of us representing your interests full-throatedly. And now you got a mess over there, AB 3121. Understand that I had the bill say that it was for ADOS alone, with no money from no billionaires. That's the answer. I don't know what else to do. Now, also, let's move down the pipe. Byron Allen was suing to change the law on discrimination. The only people that showed up at the steps was ADOS folks. We sent them down there from our shows. ADOS folks. What ended up happening is that NAACP left the day before for DACA. Nobody held them accountable. Understand that with this thing, Marc Lamont was coming on YouTube. He was supposed to be on TV. We on YouTube. Do your thing on TV. But what happens is Patrice Cullors can go to your show and get like softballs. So we can't hold her accountable without looking like, oh, Marc Lamont Hill's giving her a chance to speak. No, come on over to Breaking Brown and get some real questions. We need independent media owned by black folks. The problem is that's going to be on a small scale. The issue is that black folks are willing to take money from people who are not in our interest to look like they on a big scale. So you cut the money open and it'll be a right-wing person trying to shift the black image, the black identity into a space we're not, into right wing, into dope selling music. Now, I'm not against telling the story and the narrative of mass incarceration nor crack cocaine because it has a context in America. But what I am against is the glorification as if Jay-Z is some kind of businessman that we ain't never had before. What I am against is the reality of you not understanding that you sat with right-wing people as Marc Lamont Hill, as Charles Blow, and now those right-wing people failed Black America. Caller, I'll let you finish.
Okay. All right. No problem. No problem. I am with you, Tone. I'm with Sister Yvette. I'm just with you all. Okay. I'm with you all.
Thank you.
There's so much dissension in our community, and everybody gets a payday. Everybody gets a payday, and they just throw their hands up and they're done. And here we are again. It's just so heartfelt. I can't even really say it because it's not about let it make sense. It's about making it make sense.
Let me read something else. Caller, listen to this. Listen to this about BET. I remember, this is Bob Johnson talking in 2002. I remember walking out of some advertising agency almost in tears trying to sell this product, talking about BET. I'm told by advertisers, well, blacks don't buy that product. So my Peloton bikes and things of the like. And then, and understand, I'm talking about some big scale stuff. And then I walk into the kitchen of my friends' houses, and I see those products all over the kitchen. This is when boomers were young. If they wasn't targeting us then, they really not going to target us with student debt and gig jobs. Or they tell me we don't need to reach out to the black consumer. We already reached the black consumer over regular TV. We over-deliver black households because they watch so much television. As for critics who say our programming, and again, this is Bob Johnson talking about BEC, gives us context, can be better, I tell them I'm not a programmer. This is Bob Johnson's statement, meaning he ain't really a person that do television. I'm not going out to Hollywood with a truckload of cash and saying, all you producers come up with the next big shows. That was never my thing because I didn't see the connection between huge expenses in programming and advertisers stepping up their ad rates. They were only going to pay so much. That's why building a business targeted at blacks has always been and will always be a challenge. All he did was give us music videos. So he gave us music videos and they gave us bad interviews at Black News Channel. Caller, what you think about this?
Now what they're doing is glorifying the gangster again. Okay, they're glorifying this abuse against women and all the rest of the crap that's out here. Our children don't know anything else but that. Okay, we have been exploited again and again and again, and I just trust one day soon that the intellectual and the people who actually care for their people come together and make it right between us, because we should have the same thing in mind, which is our future. I don't care if you have children or not. You got a niece, you got a nephew, you got a grandson or granddaughter. We must fight for the children and set aside all the other craziness that caused us to be separated and divided as a people. It's very serious now. And at this time, we are in a time of change. Retribution is here. But we must know and have the courage to protect our children. And the only way that we can do it as adults and the elders, and there are young people that are out here with that mindset that knows how to do things as well. We got geniuses all in our families. But now the children have gone to be gangsters. They're shooting at each other. They're not even paying attention to their surroundings. They are hypnotized. And I know it's deep because I talk to people that have grandchildren and children. They can't even connect with them.
Well, let me say this, caller. Let me say this to jump in.
Yeah.
Somebody got to hypnotize them. And what I'm saying to you is that we go back to Bob Johnson, who gave us a bunch of music videos and a bunch of bad content and a bunch of reruns, and ask the question, what was worse? Him telling us that we had a black entertainment television that was supposedly the representation of black eccentric, or the rap video he put on that elevated a crack dealing, multi-million-dollar high school dropout. And now you got to tell your son to go to college. I don't know which was worse. I just know we dealing with a congregation, an aggregation of both things. And I come back to the Blast News Channel because they were trying to follow the same model. Caller, I'm going to let you go. You were fired today. Thank you so much. Look, I just wanted to come to you and have this discussion because this is the model now. You don't have wealth. Black America has little to no wealth. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum. $7 trillion, $3 trillion is pension. Working age black people have little to no wealth. 2 of it is 2.5, I think, is real estate, 2 to 2.5. So you talking about like liquid wealth? Literally, I think we have 350 billion, and white folks have, I think it was 40 or 50 trillion with a T. So the idea of you not doing politics, not getting the transformation, and having a news channel never made sense. But they will sell it to you and make you dream. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.org, subscribe, and donate, share this video. Thank you so much for calling in.